I'm very much an inbound methodology kind of person about making very client-centric and making it all about being real people. And I think that's at the heart of making sales social. Whether it's literally on social media or not, it's about being a person, providing value, leading with value, valuing the people you're helping and letting that come back to you.
Welcome to the Making Sales Social podcast, featuring the top voices in sales and marketing. Join hosts Brynne Tillman and Bill McCormick as they discuss the best tips and strategies they are teaching their clients so you can leverage them for your own virtual and social selling. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Play. Here are your hosts, Brynne Tillman and Bill McCormick.
Welcome to Making Sales Social. I'm Bill McCormick.
And I'm Brynne Tillman.
So Brynne, who's joining us today?
I am so excited. We have Richard Rothstein here. We've been connected probably for about 4 years. We originally met through Fred Diamond's IES, Institute for Excellence in Sales, where I presented. We've been kind of buddies on LinkedIn ever since. And I'm really excited because he brings a whole other level of conversation that we haven't had on the show yet. So welcome. Tell everyone a little bit about you.
Thank you, Brynne. Yes, I am Richard Rothstein. I'm the CEO and founder of Rothstein Consulting. And so for now, 20 years, I've been in this crazy sales, marketing, boots on the ground, management world, doing all kinds of different stuff. These days, Rothstein Consulting is a growth agency. So we help our clients, which are a lot of professional service organizations like accountants or lawyers, and also high growth startups. It can be SaaS or anything else that's pretty disruptive in the field and has some cool new take on something. But we help them avoid the 3 biggest mistakes you make when you're looking for growth. And that is your sales processes, your marketing programs, and your recruitment efforts. And so we come alongside them. We make sure that they don't make those mistakes and can manage their growth really well.
Awesome. And what I have learned from you a little bit, and I don't know if we're going to go in this direction in a little while, is your email and cadence.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different than other people in the space. But Bill has a question for you before we go there.
Yeah, and so I think that's the direction we will go in. I love that direction. But first, Richard, we ask every guest the same question to start out. What does making sales social mean to you?
So I'm very much an inbound methodology kind of person about making very client-centric and making it all about being real people. And I think that's at the heart of making sales social. Whether it's literally on social media or not, it's about being a person, providing value, leading with value, valuing the people you're helping and letting that come back to you.
I love that. And so I'm very interested to hear now how you do that with an email cadence. Because honestly, I get emails every day. So my LinkedIn name is Bill McCormick, and I have a comma, and then I have an industry designation left over from my promotional product years of Massey, M-A-S-I. I can't tell you how many emails I get that are to Massey. So talk a little bit about this email cadence.
Yeah, so definitely I am as big a downer on automation on LinkedIn as you guys are. I hate it. In fact, I actually have a special character in front of my name with a space so that I can help see that a little bit of like, oh, okay, I'm not Star, my name's Richard. So thanks for playing. Go over there. Yeah. But with email, you can do a lot better job of personalization, than a lot of people do now. And certainly there are people that do this badly, right? But the whole point of, and I'm kind of going to talk about sales automation in general, the idea of not just it being a email cadence or a sale or a phone call cadence, but it being one big sequence, right? And so I use HubSpot personally. Certainly other tools can do this, but I'm a HubSpot service provider. And so that's part of what I set up for all my clients. Is one of the cool things is when you're calling through somebody, you can kind of create a list and say, similar to what you guys do when you're working your LinkedIn stuff, right? Is you take the list and you do an Excel sheet. Well, in HubSpot, you kind of break down your database and you can say, okay, well, I'm going to call through this segment. And then you can say, well, if I didn't get through on the first call, then I put somebody in a sequence. And so I don't know how deep you've gone into this with your clients, with your show here. The numbers are that it takes at least eight attempts to contact somebody.
Wow.
It used to take like 3.8974, something along like that. But basically, it used to take
Sounds
4.
like pi.
Right. Yeah. It used to take 4 in 2017. So in 4 years, the number of minimum contacts, attempts you need to be making has doubled. I don't know about you. I've been in sales 20 years. That makes me gulp a little bit, because if I want to get the same amount of results, I don't have the ability to do double the amount of work and double the amount of contacts. Okay. The good news is that with technology, you don't have to. You can create a system. And I wouldn't recommend doing this all email alone. I recommend an integrated approach where you have a system. I know HubSpot does this. There are other CRMs that do this, but or create kind of an automation kind of thing where you have a sequence where it feeds you. It says, okay, today, here are your tasks. You need to call these people. And then once you let the system know you made the call attempt, then the next day it knows to send an email, right? And so you do this, you can set this up for your 8 attempts.
We used to use SalesLoft to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a similar kind of idea, but it's, and that's kind of, I think the way that, I've been able to be successful these days. I mean, look, I used to hit those phones hard. Like back when it mattered, back when people were like, whoa, you did that manually. I did 150, 200 dials a day. But the problem is it doesn't really matter that much anymore, because it's about how you're getting a hold of people. Because, that's what makes it important that it's a mix too, is because if some people don't respond to your email, some people don't respond to your phone calls. Some people, they're going to respond to each. And, the cool thing about when you have like a sequence of tasks instead is, there are all these different methods that you can get a hold of people now. And you can't necessarily truly automate them, but you can have lists of tasks and reminders that tell you, hey, today, actively poke this person on LinkedIn. Today, text this person. Now, text is a bad example of that because you can automate that into, a system like a HubSpot. But, something like LinkedIn, I wouldn't recommend.
There are a lot of automated texts now.
Yeah, there are.
I'm signed, like Jeb Blunt, for example. I think I get a text a day from him, and I see his name. I'm like, Jeb is texting me.
Yeah. So I think what I hear you saying is it's okay to automate a structure, but not the messaging so much. Oh. So what you're saying is you're being proactive in creating a structure and a cadence that's multifaceted, multi-channel, multi-platform, because not everyone responds the same way, right? And we need to contact and communicate with our clients and our prospects how they want to be contacted and communicated, not how we care to. Brynne may want to reach out to someone on LinkedIn, but if they don't use LinkedIn regularly, that may not be effective. I may want to call someone, but if I've got their business phone number and it doesn't ring through to their cell and they're working from home, which almost everyone is still doing, then that's not effective. So here's my next question. In the messaging, how do you stand out from the other 15 or 20 messages I get every day, emails I get every day that say kind of the same thing, like, we help companies just like yours?
Right. So, and that's important. That's where segmentation really comes into play. So for instance, for me, actually, part of what kicked off this whole process here is at the end of last year, I made a major effort to do a better job of segmenting my database, right? Shoemaker's children, didn't have shoes, right? So segmented, and I created a segment of there that was, I created a special field so that I could, look at that. And it was basically, what kind of contact were you, right? Were you, startup? Were you accounting firm? Were you somebody who'd be a good referral partner? And of course, Brynne landed in my referral partners pile. So one of the things I did, that I'm still doing actually, is I'm doing exactly what I'm talking to you guys about, right? I have a big list and it was like 500 people. So I first shot out on marketing. I shot out a couple of marketing emails to them, and based on how that segmented out, I wound up creating a list of something like 150 people to just dial through. And when I didn't get a hold of them, I would put them in one of these sequences that then had, 8 touches after it through various means. Brynne picked up But so that's,
who knew?
I know. And then we had a good call from that. But one thing that's interesting is, I had her in those, but I fully expect her to not pick up and for me to then go, oh, you know what? Let me reach out to her on LinkedIn because, she's, the queen of social selling, right? And there are other clients that I have that never pick up their phone, but will have like a half-hour long conversation with me on text. There are other people that phone is the only way I get a hold of them. So, yeah. And some people actually, there was one guy I was talking to for a few months on Facebook Messenger. He wouldn't pick up the phone with me. He picked up the phone once or twice, but he didn't like talking on the phone. He didn't like doing email. It was Facebook Messenger. So you never know. And, you do have to have that variety of ways to do it. But it's about personalization, right? If I was sending something to Brynne, I would want to make sure that I looked at that email sequence and said, where are some things that I can kind of inject little personal things that I know about Brynne that are helpful? And some of this you'd be surprised how much personalization you can automate based on based on what information you put in your database, what fields, that kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, the automation, the personalization that people are looking for isn't necessarily just, this is specifically targeted at Brynne Tillman. And I know specific things about her personal journey because I've talked to Brynne for hours. They want to know specific things about their problem. And problems are surprisingly common. If you're in a particular industry, you have probably the same problem. So with just a few pieces of not information that is more common knowledge, you can create a deeper sense of personalization as opposed to a bigger, wider thing. For instance, with this list of referral partners, I didn't just say, hey, let's talk sometime, right? I said, hey, based on what I know about you, I think we could be good referral partners. How can we talk about building each other's business?
So that list of 500, that was mainly referral partners.
Yeah, that was all people that they weren't existing referral partners or people I'd met through networking or whatever that basically they didn't fit any of my, they were kind of more centers of influence, to use the networking term. They weren't people that I thought fit like direct fits for me to go after.
Into a prospecting funnel.
Exactly. But they're people that I thought I could leverage to add more to my prospecting.
So 2 questions I have, and I know poor Brynne hasn't gotten to ask anything yet, but this is fascinating to me. So out of 500, how many would you say that you actually got through and reached and had a substantive conversation with?
So far, that number is probably close to 50 or 60.
Okay, and that's great numbers. Those are, and it's ongoing, right?
Oh yeah,
so it's just going to go up,
right? Absolutely.
So, and just for the audience, your win here. What was your win? What would you consider a win with each of these calls?
So a win to me would be somebody who had not heard from me for a while or did not remember me, and all of a sudden I was top in mind for them to recommend to other people. Now, I mean, bonus points if they can, if they're like, hey, yeah, let me refer you to blank and blank. If they have people immediately, they're like, here's some people I can send your way business wise. Bonus points. But I've gotten all kinds of cool benefits from this, right? Like a guy's doing my website right now for free that I talked to. There's an ad platform that wanted me to try them. I know. There's an ad platform that wanted me to try them.
We're going through that now, and it's definitely not free.
No. I was like, you want to do that for free? Okay, dude. And he's like, yeah, I know you know lots of people that would be good clients for me. So, and I know you talk. I'll do yours for free, and you'll tell the world about it.
And that's smart. So I think it's safe to say that in this case, a win for you is having a conversation, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so the takeaway is that yes, it takes a little bit more work to segment them to do that, but you're getting much better results. And I'll go ahead, Brynne.
Slow down. Yeah, you're reading my mind. So ultimately what's happening, and this is something we teach, and Bill he's like, I'm not going to say it because Brynne wants to say it so badly, which is, what we teach with LinkedIn and the outreach, in order to really customize and tailor the experience, you need to slow down the outreach to speed up the outcome. And so, what you're saying is awesome. And I'm also hearing that, there are different levels, right? There's templated stuff that's just going out.
Mhm.
highly custom stuff that you're typing every time. But then there's this piece in the middle that's tailored, right? Like it's a template with fill in the blank here so they know that this is about them. And I think that's where the magic lives. I don't know that we've ever talked about it exactly like that, but I do think that there are these three ways of messaging, and you're falling right in the sweet spot of, you don't have to recreate it every time, but make sure that there are things in there that they know this was not a bot sending you a message.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So I love that.
So if I'm a sales professional that's listening right now, whether I'm part of a team, maybe I'm a sales leader, maybe what's going into my mind is, yeah, but there's all that work up front. There's, that segmentation that now, granted, if they have a CRM, that's being done for them, but what's your advice to someone who maybe isn't using a CRM right now?
We have one.
We have one, but the chief sales officer doesn't use it. What's your advice for? Hey, full disclosure, I'm being transparent and honest.
New. Wait, so it's new. We're working our way into it.
So what's your advice to me about how to go about doing that in an orderly fashion to segment?
Well, so first I would say, Bill, shamey. Okay. My number one advice to anybody who isn't using a CRM in 2021 is do it. Like, these tools aren't hard. I mean, there's a free version of HubSpot. There's literally no reason for people to be working through spreadsheets and giving themselves headaches and trying to crunch this stuff themselves. Okay. There are fairly advanced tools fairly cheaply available now that are well worth.
We paid and we have one that's lovely.
Right.
And we're going to use it. So here, I'm going to just, on a side note, because this is something that we need. We have a full-time project manager who is going to keep us honest. And every day, who's new in your pipeline, let's add them in. So we recognize our gap, and we know we have, so our project manager launches all our clients. We have a pretty good system in place we have a great system in place for client launches and onboarding and all that stuff. Yeah. The sales piece, we used to have a CRM that we replaced because it was a CRM and email, and we moved to Kajabi for our e-learning and our email. It didn't have that CRM piece, so now we've brought that back in. So we did used to use one, and we need to do that again. But at the end of the day, and I hear that you're saying these are free tools. It sounds like the cadence, putting that cadence together, when it comes to this is critical. I mentioned back I was a chief learning officer of an employee advocacy tool years ago, and we had SalesLoft, and SalesLoft was our cadence, right? It took you completely from entering them into all those touches, and it knew how many days to wait between each touch and then bring it back to the top of the pipeline. What do you recommend for larger organizations are investing in these tools? But what do you recommend for the coach or the entrepreneur or even the individual sales rep that doesn't have the support from their company? What are some tools? You mentioned HubSpot. What are some tools that they can use that are affordable but do that job?
So I think HubSpot is a great one because you can, again, there's a free option. Anything with a free option is probably a good place to start to get your feet wet in what you're doing. I will say, if you're trying to do this on your own, if you're trying to organize it with spreadsheets or Word docs or whatever, you can map it out, but it won't have the same effect.
So the next question, that's good. So we'll just put HubSpot as the tool to do something like that in. I think that's great. I want to ask one more question, and then I'll let Bill talk again. 8 touches. Talk to me just randomly. What are like the 8 touches in the time between? So touch number 1, like just pretend.
So touch number 1 for me is always phone. Touch number 2 and 3 are most likely or most likely email. Okay. Touch 4 is usually either a text or a social. And then we'll do another phone call at 5 days. And then at six days will be an email, and then we'll rest a day and have a final phone call. Those will be business days. and some of that, it's for just on my part, what I've found works for me. I mean, there's a huge variance there. Some people put their 8 touches over a month. Some people have found that it works better over 2 months. I would say start tight and then expand out. You'll have better front of mind if it's if it's tight together. There are some industries that you'll find that pisses people off, and so you need to stretch it out.
So I'm going to say, because this show is Making Sales Social. So if you were going to front it, because this is sort of a softball back to Bill, if you were going to front this with social touches first, what would they be? And then I'm going to ask Bill the same question.
Well, I mean, for me, it would probably be definitely LinkedIn. I would, send them a message that was very centric to them, that, showed I do a brief bit of research on their thing, but maybe say, hey, here's an article that I think you might enjoy, or something like that. And if they were, I might send them if I'm already connected to them, then it's a no-brainer to do it that way. If I'm not connected to them, I probably should ask you guys what I should do, because I'm torn as far as which way to take them.
Yeah, that's fine.
As far as, the connection request goes. But, if I'm not connected with them, send them a connection request. What I've been doing up until now is saying, because if I'm sending a connection request, it means they're saying connection. And I say, hey, we're connected to X number of people. Thought you'd be a decent person to connect with, thanks in advance, that kind of thing, just to show them I'm not crazy. Or if I met them at an event or something, I'll say, hey, good seeing you at X event. And then, kind of like I did with you, Brynne, initially, right?
Yeah, you had a lot of touch points before we ever talked. So, right. Yeah. So, Bill, you want to share what you'll do, and then maybe I'll share.
So what I would do is I don't use the mutual connections. To me, nowadays, that's kind of like the LinkedIn version of, hey, do you come here often? And I had someone today actually reach out and use that, but gave me the names of 2 people, and I knew them, so that was good. But if you're not connected to them, I would recommend going and looking at their activity and engaging on their posts. And that will give you more of a context to connect with them. Hey, Richard, I saw that you commented on Brynne's post on XYZ. That really resonated with me. And so doing it that way actually gives a more propensity that they're going to accept and you're on the right foot. And then it gives you another opportunity to share more content. You were right on the button with, if you're connected with someone already, sending them content. Here's the key though. You want to send content that they want to read, not content that you want them to read.
Right.
And that's where we kind of, we used to get this wrong all the time, but it's looking at their magnets, looking at the people that they're following and that they're engaging on the content of, and say, hey, Richard, I saw you commented on Brynne Tillman's article on being a thought leader on LinkedIn. I thought you may want to also look at her day in the life of a social seller. You may find this interesting also. Now you're just being a resource. And that's the most important thing, I think, nowadays is to be a resource. In all of those 7 or 8 touches, what we would want to do is provide absolute value. No pitches at all, really. Just, here's something we thought you'd find useful, because that's really where it gets people to draw in and want more.
And I will add, if they are not engaging on content, look at your shared connections and reach out to them and say, hey, how well do you know Bill? And, you'll come back and say, hey, I just did a show on the Sales Experts channel with Bill, right? Yeah. Go, great. I'm looking to get in front of him. And then we can either lead that to an introduction or permission for me to drop your name. Cool. So that's another way in anyway. But yeah, so.
Well, we are out of time, but wow, Richard, this has been fantastic. I've got a whole page full of notes, and I know the folks that are listening got a lot of value. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I learned something too. I was writing down something at the end there. So
awesome. And you can go back and rewatch this and listen. But if folks wanted to stay in touch with you, connect with you, how can they find you?
Well, so LinkedIn is a great place. Richard Rothstein. It make sure you just send me a message with the star. No, just kidding. But also they can email me at richard@rothsteinconsulting.com. And if you let me know you saw me here, I'll give you a free 1-hour consultation to kind of walk through your sales strategy and and see what makes sense.
Fantastic. Wow. We'll put all that information in the resources page for you all. So great. Well, thank you so much. Thanks everyone once again for listening and watching us here on Making Sales Social. All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for watching, and join us again for more special guest instructors bringing you marketing, sales training, and social selling strategies that will set you apart. Hit the subscribe button below to get the latest episodes from the Making Sales Social podcast. Give this video a thumbs up and comment down below on what you want to hear from us next. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Play. Visit our website, socialsaleslink.com, for more information.